Imagine walking through a forgotten woodland path at dawn. The air is cool, and the ground is soft with layers of fallen leaves. Moss creeps over ancient stone walls. Tiny mushrooms bloom in clusters, and a glint of metal in the dirt turns out to be an old rusted key, someone's long-lost treasure. This is Goblincore, an aesthetic born from the love of nature's chaos. The crooked twig, the mismatched button, the chipped mug that still feels perfect in your hands. It's about finding beauty in imperfection, joy in collecting what others overlook, and living in harmony with the wild, messy poetry of the earth. In this video, we'll wander through the roots of Goblincore, explore its signature clothing, textures, and accessories, and conjure stunning AI-created looks to inspire your own wardrobe. So, lace up your worn leather boots, grab your foraging satchel, and let's step into the undergrowth together. Like many modern aesthetics, Goblincore didn't appear on a catwalk first. It sprouted quietly in the corners of the internet. In the mid-2010s, on Tumblr's endlessly scrolling dashboard, people began sharing curious little snapshots, moss creeping over forgotten garden statues, rusty trinkets found in attic boxes, and sweaters that looked like they'd been worn and loved for decades. They tagged these posts with a strange, catchy word, Goblincore. The aesthetic spread slowly at first, weaving through online communities until TikTok gave it new life. Suddenly, short videos showed people wandering through damp forests in search of mushrooms, sifting through thrift store bins for earthy toned treasures, and stitching tiny acorn charms into necklaces. But what really separates Goblincore from its softer cousin, cottagecore? While cottagecore paints the countryside in gentle pastels and perfectly arranged flower gardens, Goblincore prefers the tangled hedge, the overgrown path, and the chipped mug with yesterday's tea stains still at the bottom. It's not afraid of dirt under the fingernails. In fact, it celebrates it. Its roots run deep into folklore, where stories tell of forest spirits who hoard shiny objects, mischievous goblins trading secrets in the underbrush, and magical mushrooms glowing faintly under the moonlight. There's also a strong thread of slow fashion here, a belief that every garment carries a story, that mending is an act of love, and that beauty is found in the stitch, the patch, and the imperfect. Goblincore isn't just a look, it's a way of walking through the world, noticing, collecting, treasuring, and wearing the wild, messy poetry of the earth like a badge of honor. If the origins of Goblincore tell us where it came from, the philosophy explains why it exists and why it matters. At its heart, Goblincore is clothing as self-expression, a way to wrap yourself in your own story, not someone else's marketing plan. It turns away from fast fashion's relentless cycle of what's in and out and asks a much more personal question: what feels like you? Maybe it's a fraying cardigan you've worn on every rainy walk for years, its elbows patched with scraps from old curtains, or a jacket picked up at a flea market, already carrying the shape of another life in its seams. In Goblincore, these aren't just clothes, they're pieces of your personal folklore. Ethics matter deeply here. Goblincore thrives on second-hand finds, handmade garments, and mending instead of throwing away. A visible patch is not a flaw, it's a badge of care, proof that the thing was worth saving. Every stitch is a quiet act of love. It's about valuing the scarf knitted by a friend's hands, or treasuring a dress worn by someone whose story you'll never know, but whose presence lingers in the fabric. And woven into all of this is a connection to the living world outside. Choosing secondhand clothing, natural fibers, and durable items isn't just an aesthetic choice. It's a quiet act of resistance to overproduction, and a way to lighten your footprint on the earth. When you dress in Goblincore, you're not just putting on an outfit. You're carrying the forest with you, in colors that echo the soil and moss, in textures that recall bark and stone, in details that feel like wind, rain, and sun. You're telling the world that beauty lives in what's real, worn, and wild. It's not about dressing to impress others. It's about dressing to feel rooted in your own skin, in your own story, and in the shared story of the earth we walk upon. If Goblincore has a language, your wardrobe is the poetry, written not with ink, but with wool, stitches, and threads that speak in colors and textures instead of words. It begins with layering, the gentle art of building comfort and character one piece at a time. Picture an oversized sweater so big it feels like you could disappear inside it, sleeves falling past your hands. Over that, a chunky knit vest adding weight, like the embrace of an old friend. A scarf wrapped twice for warmth, and once more just because it feels right. In Goblincore, layering is never about symmetry or trend rules. It's about looking as though you dressed in the soft, blue-gray light of dawn before heading into the woods, reaching for whatever called to you from the hooks and shelves. Then, the textures. Wool that still carries the faint scent of autumn air. Linen that moves easily with the wind, softening more with each passing season. Cotton that feels like it's been yours for years, even if you found it yesterday. Corduroy with ridges like miniature forest trails, catching the low afternoon light. Each fabric is a memory waiting to happen, a tactile reminder of where you've been and where you're going. The colors of Goblincore don't shout for attention. They hum softly, like the palette of the forest floor. Earthy browns that feel like tree bark after rain. Deep greens like shadows under oak leaves. Burgundy as rich as wild berries hidden in the brambles. Mustard tones like sunlight breaking through golden leaves. Patterns appear in whispers. Faded plaid shirts. Tiny floral prints. Knit so worn they look like they could tell stories if you listened closely. And then, the treasures. The small details that carry meaning. A mushroom-shaped brooch pinned quietly to your coat. A leather foraging bag slung across your shoulder, ready to hold pine cones, feathers, or a handful of herbs from the market. Rings and pendants with rough-cut gemstones, each one imperfect, unique, holding its own constellation of lines and colors. These aren't just accessories. They are talismans, mementos of the paths you've walked, the places you've paused, the things you've chosen to carry with you. Together they make a wardrobe that isn't about impressing anyone else. It's about identity, memory, and connection. Your portable forest, your daily ritual, your quiet rebellion against the ordinary. Because in the end, every thread, every patch, every pocket tells a story. Not of a season's trend, but of a life well lived and a world worth belonging to. Goblincore isn't locked to a single place or moment. It adapts, shifting its shape to fit where you are, what you're doing, and even the season you're in. For everyday wear, Goblincore splits into two main moods, rural and urban. In a rural setting, the look leans fully into nature. Imagine sturdy leather boots darkened by morning dew, a long wool coat with a frayed hem, scarves in deep earthy tones, and layered knits that can handle a surprise drizzle. A satchel hangs at your side, one that's equally ready to hold fresh bread from the village market or a bundle of wild herbs from the hedgerow. The colors are soft and muted, blending with the greens, browns, and grays of the countryside, so you feel like a natural part of the landscape. In an urban setting, Goblincore becomes a little sleeker but never loses its roots. Think corduroy jackets over linen shirts, sturdy leather boots that can take you from a cobblestone street to a park path, and accessories like a mushroom brooch pinned to a structured wool coat. Earthy colors and textured fabrics soften the hard lines of the city, making your outfit a quiet rebellion against glass and steel. Here, Goblincore might lean more toward fitted trousers and tailored coats, but always with the softness of the forest somewhere in the details. For special events, Goblincore can turn whimsical without ever crossing into costume territory. Picture a flowing dress in deep green or burgundy paired with a cropped velvet jacket. Jewelry made from raw gemstones or hammered copper leaves catches the candlelight. Hair is adorned with a crown of dried flowers, or perhaps a simple ribbon in the color of moss. For a winter wedding, maybe it's a capelet lined with faux fur and a pendant shaped like a sprig of holly. For a summer garden party, a sleeveless linen dress with embroidered moths and bees. And then, the seasons. Goblincore thrives in all of them, changing its palette and textures just like the forest itself. In summer, lightweight linen and soft cotton keep things breathable. Accessories lean smaller, delicate leaf-shaped earrings, thin braided bracelets, and straw or linen hats to shield you on foraging walks. Footwear shifts to soft leather sandals or ankle boots, easy to slip off when you reach a stream. Autumn is Goblincore's natural home, layers of plaid flannel, warm knits, and scarves in gold, rust, and deep green. Boots crunch through leaf litter while pockets collect acorns and seed pods. A felt hat, slightly misshapen from rain and use, becomes your constant companion. Even your bag might carry the scent of dried leaves. In winter, warmth is everything. Thick wool coats lined with shearling, oversized scarves wrapped high around the face, and gloves with visible hand-stitched patches. Darker tones, charcoal, forest green, and deep wine, are brightened with flashes of berry red or evergreen. Knit hoods or fur-trimmed capes add both practicality and a touch of fairy tale charm. Spring brings freshness, lighter cardigans in mossy greens, floral print skirts that echo the season's wildflowers, and raincoats in muted olive or clay. Accessories might include pressed flower pendants or umbrellas printed with delicate fern motifs. Footwear becomes lighter again, with waterproof leather boots or canvas shoes for wandering through damp grass. The beauty of Goblincore is that it doesn't demand perfection, only connection. A thread of the natural world carried with you, whether it's a stone pendant, a color palette pulled from the forest, or a texture that feels like bark or leaf. Wherever you are, muddy lane or busy street, summer meadow or winter square, Goblincore offers a way to feel rooted, to carry the earth with you, and to make even the most ordinary days feel touched by a little wild magic. Goblincore is all about celebrating the wild and the whimsical, but when it comes to styling, a little balance goes a long way. The first tip is to balance whimsy with practicality. Yes, you can wear a scarf embroidered with tiny mushrooms and carry a leather satchel full of foraged pine cones, but make sure those boots are sturdy enough for the walk and that your layers keep you warm when the weather turns. Think of whimsy as the spice, not the whole meal. Next, avoid the trap of costume-like overkill. Goblincore can easily drift into something that looks more like a fantasy convention outfit if every piece is bold, oversized, and heavily themed. Instead, pick one or two statement items, like a velvet jacket with leaf embroidery or a necklace made from a polished river stone, and keep the rest simple and wearable. That way your look tells a story without shouting every line. Another smart approach is blending Goblincore with other aesthetics. Pairing it with dark academia can give your outfits a moody, intellectual edge. Imagine a moss green cardigan over a crisp white shirt, paired with plaid trousers and a satchel worn with a little scuff from travel. Mixing in fairy grunge can add a more ethereal, rebellious vibe. Layered skirts with torn lace peeking out, boots with forest charms tied to the laces, and a soft, oversized sweater to pull it all together. The key to blending is choosing overlapping elements, shared colors, similar textures, or accessories that fit both styles. Dark academia and Goblincore both love earthy tones and vintage details, while fairy grunge and Goblincore share a love of layered fabrics and natural motifs. Finally, remember that the most important styling tip is to wear what feels right for you. Goblincore is not about perfect coordination, it's about pieces that connect you to the natural world and to yourself. If a certain brooch makes you smile every time you see it in the mirror, that's worth more than following any trend. So experiment, play with textures and layers, and let your outfits evolve like the seasons. Keep a touch of magic in every look, but make sure it's still something you can live, move, and feel yourself in. You don't need a bottomless wallet to build a wardrobe that feels rich in character. In Goblincore, creativity and resourcefulness are worth more than any price tag. Let's start with thrifting. Secondhand shops, flea markets, and even charity stalls can be treasure troves if you know how to look. Go in with an open mind and a color palette in your head. Earthy browns, deep greens, mustard tones. Scan for natural fibers like wool, linen, and cotton. Don't be afraid of items with small flaws. A loose button or a tiny tear is just an opportunity for a personal touch. The next step is upcycling. Old clothes can be reborn with just a little attention. Add embroidery, tiny mushrooms climbing the cuff of a shirt, or a sprig of fern curling along a pocket. Use fabric patches to cover worn spots, mixing colors and patterns so each one feels intentional. Try natural fabric dyes, walnut shells for warm browns, beetroot for deep reds, onion skins for golden yellow. Each piece becomes not only wearable, but entirely yours. And don't forget affordable DIY accessories. A pendant made from a smooth pebble you found on a walk. Earrings crafted from acorn caps. A tote bag you've decorated with hand-painted leaves. These pieces carry the story of where they came from and the care you put into making them. One of the best budget tips is to think seasonally. Buy heavy coats in spring when no one else is looking, and linen dresses in autumn. Swapping with friends or joining local clothing exchanges can refresh your wardrobe without spending a cent. In Goblincore, the value of a garment isn't in its price tag. It's in the memories, the textures, and the way it makes you feel connected to the natural world. Whether it's a thrifted cardigan with a patch you sewed on yourself, or a necklace you shaped from a found stone, every piece tells a story. And the best part, those stories are yours to write, without breaking the bank.
And that's our journey through the mossy paths and hidden corners of Goblincore. We've explored its roots, how it grew from online communities into a living, wearable connection to nature. We've walked through its philosophy, the idea that clothing can be more than fashion. It can be self-expression, a quiet rebellion, and a way to carry the earth with you. We've opened the wardrobe together, layering oversized sweaters, feeling the textures of wool and corduroy, choosing earthy tones and small treasures that tell a story. We've added details inspired by moss, leaves, and stones. We've styled Goblincore for country paths, city streets, celebrations, and every season in between. You've learned how to balance whimsy with practicality, how to blend Goblincore with other styles like dark academia and fairy grunge, and how to build a wardrobe on a budget with thrifted finds, upcycled favorites, and handmade accessories. Now it's your turn. I'd love to see how you bring Goblincore into your own life. Share your outfits, your DIY creations, or even your favorite nature-inspired finds in the comments. Whether it's a single mushroom brooch or a head-to-toe woodland look, your style could inspire someone else on their own journey. And if today has sparked your curiosity for even more whimsical aesthetics, you won't want to miss our next video, a full styling guide to fairy grunge. We'll dive into lace and leather, soft pastels tangled with dark textures, and how to create a look that feels both dreamy and rebellious. So make sure you're subscribed, hit the notification bell, and join us again as we keep exploring the edges where fashion meets fantasy. Until next time, may your pockets be full of pine cones, your boots carry you to unexpected places, and your wardrobe always tell your story.